Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio, Mondays at 1 and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Time. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila. Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio, Mondays at 1 and Wednesdays at 7.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. We have real people here sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your life on your terms. Today we have special guest Isabella Bedoya. Isabella helps independent artists establish profitable and sustainable music careers so they can get paid doing what they love. She is the founder of the Fame Hackers, an artist accelerator for musicians that want to go from starving artists to thriving artists. After working as an A&R under Sony Music, Isabella uses her industry experience coupled with cutting-edge strategies to help musicians monetize their music careers. Isabella has not only worked with many celebrities and influencers, but also has been able to help rising artists become viral sensations. She has been invited to speak at Beat the Clock podcast, Musicians Institute, and has also been published in BoldTV, Thrive Global, Medium, and Music Industry Weekly, to name a few. Welcome to the show, Isabella.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so what was there a story or a time, this show is based on my best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. This year, we have hit a lot of situations, more than I ever expected when I wrote the book a year ago. And so with that, especially with artists, people that are looking to share their message or their music with many people, there is a lot of rock bottoms and tough spots along the journey to success. Do you have a story you could share about your journey, or maybe somebody you've worked with regarding that?
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, working in the music industry, of course, there's a lot of rock bottoms. I wanted to share actually how I even got started in the music industry, because that alone is usually a question that I get asked all the time. Mm-hmm. The crazy thing is, I think just kind of to backtrack, right? Back in like 2015, 5 years ago, I had graduated college, and I had moved back in with my mom, my brother, and I was pretty much just crashing on their couch, and I wasn't getting hired. I wasn't getting hired anywhere. I was applying everywhere for a job. It got to the point where my car payment was due, and it overdrafted my account $300. So now I had to figure out, what am I going to do? I have to make money, and I'm a college grad. How can I not get a job? So I ended up being a little entrepreneurial. I went on Facebook and I decided to sell a sauce. Nothing crazy, nothing special. I got orders, which is the craziest thing. I got orders, and then I asked my mom to borrow like $20, and they were also struggling financially at the time. So all she could really help me with was $20. And what ended up happening is I took that money. I went to like the store. I bought some supplies. I sold the sauce, and within a week, I had now been $1,000 in revenue.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's crazy because like tying it back to like artists, you know, and people in general, every time you're faced with like a tough situation, you just have to remember that as long as you can provide some sort of value to the marketplace, that's like, as long as you can solve someone's problems, you're never going to actually be in a tough situation. And sometimes you have to be resourceful. Like in that scenario where I had to make sauce, and I didn't know that by making that sauce, and it was like a pesto. And instead of making it with like oil, I put like Greek yogurt to make it like healthy and like, you know, a little innovative twist. And that sauce ended up a few months down the road. I got the attention from a family in Beverly Hills that literally 2 weeks later, I'm living as a private chef in Beverly Hills, which is what allowed me to now actually be able to enter the music industry just by being in LA. And I think just having like, just whenever you have any like tough challenges and you can figure it out, you never know how far it's going to take you. So in my case, it was more of a very creative and innovative way of breaking into the industry that everybody's always dying to get into. And so yeah, that's kind of like my little background story.
Oh, I love that. And you know, it's so important. This year, people have worked at jobs for their whole lives, and maybe that wasn't their passion. That's just, they got into a comfortable job and it was paying enough and they just kept going at it. And then this year hit and they've had to course correct. Maybe it's a time when it's frustrating because maybe you were in an industry you loved and you had to go and do something else in order to make ends meet this year. And your beautiful story, Isabella, is the reality is sometimes we have to fund our dreams through different venues, and yet you're able to use your talents and help other people and become a chef in Beverly Hills. So we're kind of neighbors around town. And so that's an interesting thing. Being willing to show up. One of the things I share about is, who are you being in all you're doing? It's more important about how you're showing up with anything that you're doing, even if it's something where it's rolling your sleeves up and doing something completely different. When you have a passion, when you have a talent, you will always be guided to that true north, no matter what you end up doing in between to pay the bills or, you know, pay that car payment that you had. and so don't give up just because maybe this year, if you're listening and if you've had a reroute, if you've had a situation where you're called to do something that's completely not your passion and purpose, do that with your best self showing up, and it may guide you or lead you to the open door and opportunity that you've always wanted to really share your voice, your message, your talent, and your truth with others. So that is incredible, Isabella. Now, I'd love to learn more about what you're doing in the music field and how that works.
Sure. So what I do now is I help independent artists. As you might be aware, being an independent artist is already hard enough. Not only do you have to deal with having to fund your entire music career and your dream, but you also have to deal with family, friends, and the whole entire world telling you that you're not going to be successful. And it's a reality, and it's a harsh reality, because we should actually embrace artists. We should embrace the music and the culture, and not just for musicians, for like artists that paint as well. And what I discovered was that we live right now in an age where, first of all, you're never too old or too late to reinvent yourself, and second of all, if you really want to follow your career in music, all you really need is social media. You just need attention. It's not that, you know, you don't really have to focus on growing your account to like hundreds of thousands of followers, but even if you have a small following, that's all it really takes. And so when I discovered that, when I was actually working for this label, I realized, well, what I was doing to find talent was I was looking for talent that already had the high numbers and had the high engagement. So then it was just kind of like a no-brainer. The industry's changing, and it's changing at such a fast pace that I don't really think that people understand what's happening. But if you tie in digital marketing into it and social media, that's kind of where the music industry is pivoting now, and people are starting to see that.
I love that, and I think that is the hidden talents are the ones that I think people want to hear, the new music, different things that are coming out. And I can remember, now this is like dating myself, but back in the day, probably, oh my goodness, in the 90, 98, 99, I mean, I opened gift stores when I was 23. So every time I could on the weekends, I would have people, like a whole band, come in and play. I was the only store. I had a 5,000 square foot store. So it was huge. People could dance in there. And this was my fun. So, because I'm still young and I'm trying to, like, how do I have my business and have my fun at the same time? And all the restaurants were next to me. So I was near, though, I picked a place next to all these restaurants. So people ate there until 10 at night. Everybody closes at 5 with their stores. I'm open until 10. And on the weekends, I have the musicians come in. And I thought, well, I can't pay to have these musicians. So I would go, now I'm in California. So I would go to 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica and all these different places. And I would find back in the day where you would have the musicians on the corners and on the streets. And you could tell, obviously you know the talent, you know the music, and you could tell if somebody can sing or play whatever. And I would get these bands and fun people to come up. I would sell a ton of merchandise, yet I was having a blast, and people were dancing and buying. They were shopping. And it was so long ago, they had CDs. They brown disc things that people, if you're really young, you may not know these CD things. And people would get labels on the, and get found at my store. Because I found them at 3rd Street Promenade, and so that was how they did it back in the day. And now it's like you don't even have to go through all that, because you're getting your message out, just getting on social and sharing your beautiful music, and people are going to hear it, and the right people will show up. And yes, you can also connect with producers and recorders, people that may want to sponsor you or help you get to the next step in the music field, because now you can connect with them with a message on LinkedIn or one of the social platforms, whereas before those type of people were really hard to even get to.
Yeah, and that's actually such a great point, because a lot of the times the music industry is seen filled with like gatekeepers, and but actually thanks to LinkedIn, that's such a great point, because thanks to LinkedIn, you can find whoever it is you need to connect with, and that's really all it boils down to. As long as you're great at relationship building and you're going in with the right intention and not like spamming people or just being like egotistical and it's all about you. If you actually come in with like a purpose and you want to do well in the world, like no one's gonna say no to helping you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's very true. And there's fun ways now. Starbucks and other places are open, and they actually take a lot of new music on their platform. I don't know if you've heard of that, where they will share people's new music and songs. And I have no idea how to get on that. I'm not a musician. I'm a famous car singer, and also but I do have a blast with it. And one time in Beverly Hills, I was singing and I had the top the roof, the sunroof open in my car, and I'm singing and I'm at a light and I'm just really rocking out, and there's people standing at the light and they all clapped. So I got caught. Those raving fans.
That's hilarious. That's you should be on what's the guy's name? James Gordon, the car karaoke.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, I've never heard of it, but that sounds great. Yeah, that is for sure. I was just that music is the key to the authentic soul. It really gets us out and gets our it gets our emotions kind of out. You could play a song or listen to music, and it'll change your physical and emotional state in a minute. You hear a sad song, and I mean, you play certain songs for me and I'll be in tears. And I'm not a person that cries that much, but the song will bring me to that. And other songs, I can just jump up even if I'm tired, and I'll like literally the secret to cleaning the house this year, because now I can't even delegate. I can't like with all the social distancing, nobody wants to come clean your house or anything, so there's no delegating, and so I have to figure that out. And I was like, how can I make this fun? And I just blast the music, and I'm singing and cleaning and dancing around, and things get done, and I feel like I had a little party just in my own house. And so if you're home right now, instead of sitting on the couch, just playing some music and getting into that and enjoying it. Don't play the depressing songs. You don't want to do that. Don't go there if you don't, unless you want to. But, you know, if you play something upbeat, it changes your emotional and physical state. And that's kind of a fun thing to do as well. So what tips, Isabella, do you have for people that are just getting into or trying to get into the music industry as a profession?
So basically what I would suggest, first of all, is before even like thinking about how to join into the music industry, first start with the end in mind. What it is that you actually want to do. And this is applicable, like the tips that I'm going to share with you, it's applicable really in any industry. As long as you start with the end in mind, then you're going to be a lot more clear and a lot more efficient with your process. So if you know, for example, that you want to be in the music industry, and let's say that you want to be a producer, but then you're over here applying for like A&R jobs, then you're wasting time. What you should be doing is contacting producers, seeing if you can shadow them or if you can be mentored. And sometimes you do have to invest in mentorship. That's part of the growth. That's part of the process. But I think as long as you start with like the end in mind, then everything's going to be a lot more streamlined.
That is so true. And even volunteering, I think I've never, ever applied for a job, really. I think maybe when I was young, I did. And they didn't hire me. It was so weird. The ones that I did get over the years, and they were very interesting positions that would show up, very good paying, fun positions, was because I ended up volunteering a lot and getting involved in my community, showing up so you could play your music for an event that you believe in, maybe a nonprofit or something like that. And the people that are there donating, they can hear. You don't know who's going to show up in a room when you show up and hear your music and say, hey, I know, I want to introduce you personally to so-and-so. You have an incredible voice or incredible music, or, you know, and that's another way to do, you know, if you are in music, this is your passion, this is your talent, you love this, you'll do it for free anyway, but this is the way, you know, you're contributing, you're in contribution, helping other people. And all of a sudden you are going to find that thing that you were trying so hard to get in contact with or have somebody fund you or whatever, that's going to show up when you show up. And that's made all the difference. I mean, I ran political campaigns, and because I was nonpartisan and I was working for equal education for all in our country. And it was a nonpartisan campaign that I worked on for a long time. I have 3 of my own children, 3 children I adopted, and they all have different learning needs and situations. And I thought, wow, depending on their zip code and their background before these kids came to me, how is it they didn't learn the same or have they're all the same intelligence pretty much. It was different based on the zip code. So I was working on that. Next thing you know, I'm campaign manager. I'm running headquarters, and they asked me, what political party are you with? I didn't even know. I was like, Free Spirit? But I knew people, and I knew how to work with groups and help with events and do that and have fun with things. And it was because they saw me volunteering and showing up, and they saw who I was, that they were like, wow, you can really work with a crowd and get this done. We would love to have you here. And that's how I what happens was then they'll give you the application after the fact and they'll say, oh, just fill it out. You've already got the job. And that happened numerous times in my life. And I think that's the thing. This year we need our communities need music and joy and happiness again, and to have that. So if you're trying to get your music heard, just being in contribution can make a huge difference in your life.
Absolutely. And also I love the fact that you keep bringing up the fact of showing up. I think that that's really where the magic happens. You never know what's going to happen. And one thing that I noticed this year, especially with the pandemic, so a lot of people are going digital. If you Google, like I'm sure if you Google any industry and then just type in virtual events, you'll see all the virtual events happening in your industry. And I did that for the music industry, and I found a calendar full of events. Like there's literally a calendar full of events, and every day there's something. And I started showing up to the events, and just by showing up to the events, it was like, it didn't matter that right now I'm in Florida. It didn't matter that I'm in Florida right now. I was still networking with like people in UK and people in LA and like even right now, this whole show right now, this whole interview right now, it happened because of the same fact of just showing up and being in the right room at the right time. And I think, it's just, that's really where the magic happens, is really when you show up.
Yes. And I wonder, have you experienced for yourself or known other musicians? I know a few that I have heard them sing. I have heard I guess they have like promo reels or music examples. And I've told them, I will connect you to producer. I know quite a few myself. I will connect you to somebody. And they are afraid. They're like, no, I'm not ready. It's not perfect. And I'm like, oh my God, if I could sing like that, they would not be able to shut me up. It's just like, oh no, I'm on the rooftops. And so there's something stopping them. And I'm wondering if you experience that a lot, or if you experience that yourself, and ideas or tips to get past your own limiting beliefs, I think it might be.
Yeah, that's such a great topic. I mean, I've seen it a lot, and I've even done it myself a lot, where you just kind of get so afraid that you're afraid of the outcome, whether it's failure or doubt or whatever, that you stop taking action. And what I've discovered is that you have to take action. You take messy action, whatever, just do it, and embrace it. Embrace that it's messy, because you don't know if your messiness is actually what makes you unique. And then that's what attracts other people and fans and whatever. But the other thing too is it's never going to be perfect, and the only way to get better is to actually do it. So again, you have to take action. And one mindset shift that really made the whole difference for me was, for example, when I think of like my ideal client, what was stopping me before, it was fear or just like analysis paralysis. But when I had the mindset shift of like, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's literally about my clients. Like it's about their life. How can I make their life better? And when I started seeing it in that way, and like seeing it and like kind of leading with a heart of service, that's when it was just like if I'm not taking action right now, I'm doing a disservice to the world. So usually what I tell the artists that tell me this is, think of it like this way, right? Music is one of those things, like you mentioned earlier. You can dance and clean the house, you can have a blast, or you can be absolutely sad and miserable. And you hear it all the time where people tell artists, your song saved my life. It happens all the time. Your song saved my life. So when I tell an artist and I tell them, think of your ideal fan. Now, what if your ideal fan needed to hear your music right now? Even though you don't think it's perfect, they love it and they needed to hear it. And what happens if your song saved their life? But now what happens if you didn't show up? Right. Then what happens to your ideal fan? And I know it's going to a dark place, but it's also like, you have to show up for the people that you're doing this for. It's not about you. It's about what you're doing for society.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think of one of the things that I believe and that I share a lot on my social media is, I see younger children. As a parent of 6, I've seen so many kids in my life, obviously. You see these beautiful young children, and they don't care about other people's opinions. They do not care what people say at all. And they are sharing their talents. And you think about whether they're in sports or music or whatever it is, and they're not an ego. It's not about competition. It's this beautiful thing coming through them where they're sharing, they're home. They're sharing their music, whatever that is, whether it's art, sports, whatever it may be. And it's just the most beautiful thing to see, and it sets everybody else free. So just being a child again and being okay with not getting everybody's approval and just sharing your truth and your talent makes all the difference. It is an incredible thing when you stop worrying about the good opinion of others. I always say, I love my wildly imperfect, beautiful, authentic life, because it is imperfect and crazy and up and down and round, but it is what it is. And we all just show up and do the best. And the next day we show up again and we do our best. And this year, if you're just finally starting to find the gratitude and the gift in our universal pause, where we realize, wow, since now my hours got cut or my business got shifted, I can finally I have the time right now that I may never have again to actually pursue my talent. And a lot of people have found that they may not even need that job anymore because their talent, they're having so much fun, like they'll do it for free. And then they start getting paid to share their talent and truth. And they're like, oh, well, this was the biggest gift ever. And so it's stepping out of your comfort zone and being willing to not be afraid. And of course, when you start something, you're going to make mistakes, or you get better and better as you practice your music or whatever your talent is. You think of our top sports people, they have to practice tens of thousands of hours to make the home runs or whatever. I'm not a sports person exactly. Whatever they do, that throw the ball and the other people catch it. When I was on the team in baseball as a kid, I was so enjoying playing the game. And, in halftime, they changed the basketball, the hoop that you're going to put the ball in. So I made a basket and I made it for the wrong team.
Oh my gosh.
Yay! And everybody was rooting, but it was all the people on the team. That was the best memory ever. Of course, my team was a little upset with me. It was like, I told you, I did not know. I was just so happy I made a basket. And I know you were using that basket. I did not know the rules of the game. And so it's proof that you don't have to know all the rules to make a basket, to have your own victory. And then you learn and you're able to course correct. And now I know, now I will never forget that. Boy, they did not let me live that one down.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I told them I didn't know, and I was not kidding. I had no idea. So, I had to play around the world. So I was able to make a basket. I just didn't know the rules of the game. So don't worry so much about the rules. Ask for forgiveness when you need to, and ask for help. Invest in different trainings and programs. Now, I would love to hear more about how you help people and the programs that you offer.
Sure. So first of all, before we jump into that is such a funny story, and that's such a great way to share like the whole making the basketball to the another hoop. I've never heard of a story like that, but that literally makes it so easy for people to understand. So what I do is I have different programs. Right now, what I'm working on right now is the Grow Your Fan Base Bootcamp, where it's essentially like just a 5-day boot camp. And in the 5 days, we go through how to build a fan base, how to attract, how to build correctly a fan base that's engaged with you, and not just going for quantity of followers, but going for quality. Your tribe. If you release a new song, they're gonna support you, whatever you're doing, and they're actually also benefiting from the music that you're making. So that's something that I'm working on now. I realized over the past couple of months, the number one problem in the whole industry right now, in terms of independent artists, it used to be making money, and it still is making money, but the more I ask, the more market research I do, it always boils down to the fan base. And so that's what I'm doing right now. But other than that, I also have an accelerator, which is kind of like the flagship program. The accelerator is just like a 3-month program or a 12-year program, depending on the length. And through there, we cover everything that they need to do. So in the course of 90 days or the course of a year, depending on the level that they're in, they're going to be on a place where they have a fan base. They have a monetized fan base. They have exposure, whether it's in the media or just getting more podcast interviews or whatever it is. And essentially, just kind of to like break it down, FAME in Fame Hackers stands for foundation, audience, monetization, and exposure. And those are the 4 pillars that we go through over the course of the accelerator, so that they can actually, become the artists that they need to become.
Wow, I love that. And synchronicities happen. I do have a good friend that will be on, I guess, in a week or so, and she said, "Hey, I have this singer that I would love if she can come on with us, because she's going to play some music and sing just little bits." And then she sent me her voice, and it was phenomenal, incredible. Wow. And I was like, of course. And here today, I'm talking to someone, so I will definitely share that program with her. And she's a very girl that I mean, her voice, I'm sure she'll probably join your program and really hear it too, but it's just incredible. And how funny that is that things show up when you're looking for it. And so ask in your community, see what you can get involved with, ask for help when you need it, when you're getting started in a talent, whether it's music or another talent. The more you ask, like here, this friend is saying, "Hey, I would love to have her music on my show when you interview me, because it's part of what I do and how this lady coaches, and it's somebody that works with her in the coaching, and she brings music into it." And so see how just telling people and asking for help can make a big difference, and then being willing to do the work, because it's going to take work. It's going to take working with different people, going through some programs, and you don't know, we're not the talent. If your music talent is your talent, you may not have the talent of getting the fans or doing the other pieces that you need in order to really have a solid foundation to get your music out there. So that makes all the difference. That's really cool. Now, do you have any short story about maybe a client that has worked with you and what their results were, or the process maybe?
Sure. Yeah. So, I have a couple really good stories. The first one, this is really inspiring because it's pandemic related. I have a client in the UK, and when we spoke, he didn't tell me. He recently revealed this part, but whenever we spoke first, he told me all his goals, and I knew I could help him. So he started off with a very, very, very small deposit, and it was because he said at the time, I didn't know this, but 2 weeks ago, no, not 2 weeks ago, it's been like over a month already, he messaged me and he was like, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know, when I paid my deposit, I used my unemployment money that I was getting from the government." And I was like, wow, that's wild. But then he goes, "But I knew if I didn't pay the deposit, I wasn't going to be able to turn." He literally went from making, I think it was like $200 a month or something from the government. He turned those $200 into, then he was now making $4,000 in the first month of working with me. And that, like, he sent me a screenshot. He was like, "I've never had this much money in my bank account. Like, it was like, first of all, I was already not just crushing his own previous goals, but he's literally like stepping up to a new level. And now where he literally just wanted to make like an extra $1,000 a month, quadrupled what he thought he was going to be making. And then now, because he's making so much more money, now he has like a new mindset, and he's like, how can I get to 2K a week? And like that would have never happened in a short period of time. And another inspiring story as well, I have another artist that I'm working with, and she created this song to like help society. It's called Stay Strong, and it's literally to help society with the whole pandemic and dealing with coronavirus and the riots and then the Black Lives Matter movement and the peaceful protests, and the whole 2020 has just been chaotic. So she created this song. At first it was for COVID, but as the year went on, she's like, well, it's for this too, stay strong for this. And her movement was really inspirational. And for her, I was able to help her get it out there, and she got some media exposure. I think there's a show airing in December on ABC, I believe, where they did a little like 30-minute segment on her, and same thing. She was able to get the message out, and for her right now, she's starting to experience more of the fan engagement that she wasn't experiencing before, which I think is really, really important and exciting. And she's exciting too, because because of showing up. Right. She back in the day, she used to also be like a street performer. So now I said, well, just live stream, take a couple hours a week, live stream. So it's kind of like street performing online. And because she's showing up, now she's also getting like different opportunities where it's either different collaborations with other people or different companies, different merch, brands and stuff like that. So it just really boils down to showing up.
Mm-hmm. That is incredible. I love those stories.
Yeah.
So we are coming to the end of our interview time, and I would love for you to share with the audience how they can reach you.
Absolutely. So my Instagram's @thefamehackers, and or you can just go to my website, www.thefamehackers.com.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show, and let's everybody have your music and your talent be heard. All right. We'll tune in again soon.
Thank you, Sheila.
All right. Thank you. Welcome back to the Sheila Mack Show. I'm Sheila Mack, your host. And here we have real people sharing real stories and solutions to help you reinvent, reboot, and rebuild your life on your terms. I'm Sheila Mack, your host, and today we have Makari Robinson-McNeese. He is a 17-year-old second-year student at Southwestern Illinois College. And he's an amateur musician, which I think he's an incredible musician, a podcaster, and D&D enthusiast. So welcome to the show, Makari.
Hi, I'm glad to be back.
Hi. All right. So just in case, for those who do not know, could you explain what the D&D enthusiast, what that's all about?
So my podcast, In Dice We Trust, is actual play audio D&D podcast, which is the game which is an abbreviation for the game Dungeons and Dragons, which has been like recently popularized in like the recent years and everything. Most people like in my generation either know of the game or have played the game at one point or another in their lives.
That sounds incredible. And you have a podcast about the game, and that kind of goes into, I know my daughter and I have listened to the podcast now, and we enjoy that. So it goes into the game. Can you explain more about how you do your podcast?
So the way that the podcast works, at least from my side of it, is about, I want to say maybe February or March. I started writing like a basic story outline, like specific big beats that I wanted the podcast to follow. Basically, the beginning and the end of the whole story. And the way that...
Okay, I think you froze for a second. He's going to come back on in a minute. And that's the funny thing about this year, is we've had to take a pause sometimes. So it may be that Makari's going to go out and come back in. I'm not sure what's going on. It's something with the internet on his side. Let's see. Yeah. So you might want to go out and come back in. So anyway, I'm going to keep talking as we continue. Are you back? Let's see.
Am I?
You're sort of back. It's your internet's a little off today.
Yeah, it's been off the whole week. I apologize about that.
Yeah, we were talking about how the universal pause happened, and we were all taken by surprise. And the situation is everybody's on their internet at once now, and so sometimes we have disruptions in life and in our internet service, and how we deal with that. And how we choose to let that either affect us or not affect us makes all the difference in the outcomes that we have. So if you look at everything like a lesson and a gift, it kind of changes things a little bit. And I think he's frozen again. Are you frozen again? Maybe you're back.
I hope not. Can you?
Okay, you're good now.
Okay.
Sort of. Yes. All right.
Yeah, it comes and goes. It's been very spotty this week.
Okay.
I've had a lot of Zoom calls, and it's been a little bit of a pain.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yes, it's so difficult. You might need to go stand out in the middle of the field on one leg and just kind of like, I actually had to do that once. I literally had an interview with a big network, and I had to go stand outside and hold my computer up at a certain angle and do this whole entire hour-long show. And it was 108 degrees. And I was like, oh my gosh. And at the end, my computer overheated.
Oh no.
And it shut off. But I made the interview, and it was like, and then when I was saying goodbye, it was like gone. So I was determined. Determination makes all the difference. So you're explaining about the game.
Yes.
Yes. So go ahead, continue.
Wait, I don't know where I left off on your end. I'm so sorry.
So we were barely getting the beginning parts about how the game works and how the show works, and you start a story. Now listen to this. Business leaders out there, even having a game that's really this is a strategy game. It's a fun, structured kind of a strategy game, right? And so even in that, just like business strategy, you got to have a business plan. You got to get some things down on paper first to have success. You got to know where you're going, where you want to take the business, the outcomes you want in your business. That goes the same for your personal life. If you don't have a plan, anything's going to work. You're not going to have a good game if you just kind of like randomly. The same thing with a business or even your home life. You can replan how you're doing home. If you have to work from home now, maybe you have children. If you have children at home, or maybe you have an elder that came home that you have to care for now, you might have to reinvent how you have your home and sit down and write it all out. Something about writing things out. So go ahead, continue with that.
Yeah, I speaking on that vein, I actually don't have it with me right now, but I do have a very big notebook filled of like all like past things that they've done in the story and stuff like that, and like things that I want to lead them to. But so what I basically do on like an episode to episode basis is I lead my co-host or the players of this game through like a very loose storyline, and it's basically up to them to fill in like details and everything. It's a very I do a lot of planning on my end, but for them it's very improvisational. They have to think on their feet, come up with creative, ingenious solutions to different problems that I throw at them and everything like that. I enjoy the game very much because there's never, in most cases at least, there's never a right or wrong answer. It is simply you have an idea and you try it, and it just might be crazy enough to work.
Wow. Again, does that not sound like life? You might have a business plan. We all might have had a plan for 2020. And then holy smokes, we got some plot twists, course corrections, crazy things happened all year. We don't know what's next. It's all going to be good, I'm sure. But yet, we have elections coming up. So not getting political. Yet the reality is we don't know what's next. So even if you have a plan, to be able to know that you may have to pivot or course correct, so there's that. Anyway, so that makes a difference. I'd love to hear more about like examples from your podcast so the audience can understand more about what you're in Dice We Trust, the podcast, how that works.
Examples of like production or different things that we've done in the podcast or anything like that?
I mean, I make the way I hear it, it's like a fun story and you're listening to it, but it's very engaging. And I'm telling you, you can hear how much fun you're all having. Yeah,
I mean, we definitely do have fun. That's kind of one of our, what's the word I'm thinking for? One of our objectives of the whole podcast is we want to have fun overall more than anything else, because we love playing this game and we want to share that emotion with everyone who listens. But I would say that the main things of the podcast that we try to do is we do try to tell an engaging story, and rather than just like writing something and acting it out, D&D is like, I feel like it's such a better way to tell a story, simply because through the whole game aspect of it, even there will be points in the story where we are surprised along with the audience. Like not even at any given point will any of my other co-hosts or myself know exactly what's coming next. And I think that's really what the fun of it is while you are experiencing a story, at some points in the podcast being on the same side as the host, being surprised or feeling sad or angry or happy with these characters and these hosts that you're listening to. I feel like that draws in audiences more, where they'll feel a lot more connected with what's happening.
Yes, I love that. That is so important, because right now we need fun stories. There's morals to these stories also. There's a lot of real life kind of examples that are in there, but in a more interesting way. I guess morals to the story that you kind of get out of it, and it makes you think. It makes you think what's next, what's going to happen next, and how are they going to deal with that? So I think it's fun, and it's also a way to kind of take a break from what's going on the planet and just get engaged with something that's healthy and fun that you're listening to and enjoying and getting involved with, versus maybe a bad habit, whatever that is, that isn't so engaging. Like mindless TV. How many shows? I haven't watched TV in years. How many shows? I have watched every show that I missed for the last 30 years. I mean, like, I don't think there's anything left to watch. Okay, what are we going to watch next for those 3 months? It was so crazy. I mean, I really honestly just worked and had these kids and going to school and doing everything else that I do. And I just didn't have time. I traveled the world for 7 years straight. I did not watch TV. And it was sad, because when I did like go to a hotel room and turn on the TV, it would be a rerun of something like a million years ago when I was little. I was like, you have got to be kidding.
So really nothing new for you.
So it's like, oh my gosh, never mind. Let me go do something else. And so this has been an interesting year, and we're looking for things to do, engaging podcasts to listen to, ways to stay engaged, and to hear stories that relate to how to deal with life. Like I said, just thinking about what's happened this year, it's like we're in one of those games and we got all kinds of things happening. So it is a fun way to enjoy that. What would you say is something that people can do if they want to maybe learn more about that game or get engaged in other activities that are healthy, that keep you away from maybe some distractions that aren't so good right now?
I would say the easiest way to learn about D&D is simply go online. There are several, like I said, it's seen a resurgence in these recent years. So there are way more resources out there than I have ever seen about D&D. dndbeyond.com, which is a website owned by the creators of the game. Then a nice, like, easy way to play virtually with people is roll20.net, I believe. And as for different things to do to that also entreat to the sort of escapism of the real world, I would honestly, after every single episode, after every single recording of an episode, me and my co-host will get together, sit down for like an hour and a half and play some more board games, because it's just, there are several resources now out there to virtually play board games, and like, board games are very fun. I would say that board games have their own form of escapism without necessarily having like this storytelling aspect to it. And honestly, you could add it to it. I know me and my host played a game of Clue, and we all acted as the characters just for fun. And that was probably the most fun game of Clue I've ever had before. But more than anything, I would say spending time with your friends is the best form of escapism. Spending time with people who you love to be around, people who share your common interests, that is the best form of escaping from reality.
Yes. And then one of the other things that I shared a little bit about you earlier was that you also love music and you're a musician. So that's another way. I don't know about you, but for me, when I'm listening to music, it takes me away.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that's another way. Or to change your state. Maybe you're depressed, but you're listening to really depressing music. Or there's no, like, I can go somewhere, I'll be going into maybe a company where there's people that are all working and they're kind of like hating their job. Mm-hmm. And I'll say, hey, here's an idea. What if you played, like, it's not where there's public, they can just play some music, and you'll go back like a day later and they have the music and the speakers set up and people are like working, and now they're dancing and they're working and they're humming and it, like upbeat music instead of just this, the walls are all gray and dark and they're in these little places where they have to do like assembly or something, and it's boring. They know their job. They could probably close their eyes and continue doing the work. But when you have the music on, it changes. It's so simple, but it changes the state and the energy. And when you look at, like, think about if you go to a restaurant when they're open, some of them are, if it's crowded, they will play faster music, so that people can eat faster and get the heck out, so they can get to clear the table and get the next group in. And when it's a slow time or it's a store, think about the holidays, they want you to stay. So they're going to play happy but kind of slower music so you can kind of linger and spend a few $100 extra buying things. It's believe it or not, it kind of controls your state of being. So if you're sitting at home right now and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling down, I'm going to start connecting with some games online, connecting with people in different ways. Listen to the podcast, Makari, you have In Dice We Trust. It's an incredible podcast. Put some music on, dance. I literally will put music on to clean my house.
I I mean, speaking from experience, I am listening to music at almost every point in my day. At work, I'm constantly listening to music. It makes the shift go by so much faster. It makes it not seem like work anymore if I'm just having fun the entire time.
That's it. And what is life about? We've got to have fun in every moment. This year we've had ups and downs, rounds and rounds, everything. And yet we're going to build magic memories and beautiful moments as long as we continue to, bring in fun games, good activities, play some music. It's actually healthier for our mind. And if you can like my daughter, she took piano, she took guitar, she did all that. She did this whole method, Suzuki method, when she was little. So she plays really well, and she kind of stopped. But when the lockdowns happened and we were stuck at home, she's like, "Mom, could you get me a keyboard? I need to take some more lessons. I just need to get back into my music because I can't just sit here." And it really made a difference for her. It was night and day. It really does. It does help to play music and have fun. I think we forget to have fun in life. People get so serious. I don't ever want to forget to have fun. Never, ever. So that makes all the difference. All right. Well, we're coming to the end of the hour. So to our time, and I'd love to let the audience know how they can listen to your podcast and connect with you.
In Dice We Trust on all platforms where you can find podcasts, and our website is anchor.fm/In Dice We Trust.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And we'll be back after this message. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome back to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. I'm Sheila Mack, your host. Today we have had incredible guests. We have had Isabella Bedoya sharing about music, and music is key to the authentic soul. And then we've also had another musician who is sharing about his podcast show, In Dice We Trust, and how to have fun this year. Now, I also, as we head out, I want to let you know that today is Monday, and if you're listening in, and this afternoon at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., and then on demand after that, we will have special guest Miriam Magalhaes, and she is incredible. She will be sharing about her experience as a coach and a leader working with the One World and O&O Academy in India about meditation and how to find peace and bliss in your life in every day, in every way. So tune in for that. Take a listen to her message next, and I will see you next time.
Hi. Are you ready for a revolution? A revolution in consciousness? Yes? So join me on Sheila Mack Show and be ready to live a transformed life. My name is Miriam Magalhaes. I'm a global master coach and a transformer of O&O Academy, India. And I'm looking forward to meeting you. Namaste.
Again, this is the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest, and I'm giving you some homework. Grab a copy of my latest book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. That's right. If life has knocked you down, get ready to pick yourself back up and give your problems the boot. I look forward to hear about your read, and we'll see you next time. You may get a copy of Bootstraps and Bra Straps on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle, as well as at www.sheilamack.com. As always, I wish you life, love, laughter, and light.